When you do testing to that extent, you're going to find more people, you're going to find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please.
Remember that? It was a fun little throwback to when he willfully allowed more people to get sick and die in COVID. But it is actually a stance of his that has maintained to the current day that he does not want data that he does not like. And so you might recall that just a few days ago, he fired the Commissioner of Labor Statistics after they provided weaker than expected jobs figures. But that is not the only way that he is trying to stop data from coming out that could potentially hurt him or his rich buddies. And this is a story that's not going to be reported nearly as widely, but it is very important, arguably more important. And so he has apparently asked NASA employees to draw up plans to end at least 2 major satellite missions. If the plans are carried out, one of the missions would be permanently terminated because the satellite would burn up in the atmosphere. The other wouldn't burn up, it's attached to the ISS, but they would stop using it. In fact, they would allow a private company to take it over rather than the government continuing to gain data from that satellite. So why would you want to stop these 2 satellites? Well, he doesn't like the data that they collect, or at least corporations and wealthy donors don't like the data that it's collected. So basically, it's designed to monitor planet warming greenhouse gases. So emissions of things like carbon and stuff like that, it can take a look and it can figure out how much is being generated. And it's very important, by the way. The US Department of Agriculture currently uses the data to forecast and track crop yield, drought conditions, and more, as in addition to just the carbon stuff. But they don't want that because that information shows where more carbon is being emitted. It potentially shows where particular corporations are emitting carbon. And the data that it provides could be used by scientists or by policymakers to limit those sorts of emissions in the future. And so they're just gonna kill it. And it's not just like pro-ignorance, anti-science, doing something about climate change. Is also financially stupid. The 2 missions cost about $750 million to design, build, and launch. Now though, it only costs about $15 million per year to run them. That's about 1.5 Donald Trump weekend golf trips for a year of operating these 2 satellites, but they're just gonna burn them up. And likely when we get a sane president back in office, we're gonna have to again spend the better part of $1 billion to put them up there. But this is our president. This is the effect he's having on our ability to know what's actually going on with our planet. Yes, what do you think?
Oh my God. Yeah. So like I live in Houston. I don't just live in Houston. I live in NASA Houston, right? Like it's down the road. My husband works there. And again, it's not a flex. It's like a lot of the people who live in this area are in some way, shape, or form employed by the NASA complex. And it was like such a cool thing. It is such a cool thing. We're the space city. It's something that the people of Houston take a lot of pride in, right? Even across the city, right? This is the space city. And it's been weird lately, and like part of the crux with NASA is that it is federally funded, it is publicly funded, and so we're always trying to like fight the government to get the funding that we need to push for certain initiatives. And of course, things get politicized whenever you're dealing with public money, and people say, "Oh, we need to spend our money elsewhere. That's not important." They don't understand the kind of work that NASA actually does and how much research it actually puts forth, not just for space travel, but for use in various other just industries and things like that. So now what has happened is since the government doesn't want to fund programs at NASA, they have to look for private funding instead. And where do they have to look? They have to look at Elon Musk and SpaceX. They have to look at Jeff Bezos with Blue Origin. They have to look at the Virgin guy, Richard Branson, right? They have to look at all of these like terrible billionaire people. And I said it in a video or something before that like Elon Musk has somehow managed to make space in Houston less cool than it was. And that is like a significant accomplishment. And sorry, I'm trying to think of like, never mind. I won't say what I was going to say, but it is very, very tricky, and it's very heartbreaking to watch. To know that people are going to get laid off from these positions. This is a job that people have spent their entire lives dreaming of, right? Like people grow up and they want to go work for NASA. They want to go be around the astronauts, and they're there, right? They're right here in Houston, and it's very sad because they're just going to lose their jobs over something that is so inane and so just stupid. It's very, very dumb. It's completely dismissive of people's entire life's work, and it's hard to watch.
Yeah, 100%. I'm very curious now what you almost said but didn't say, but you don't have to. And I will say that when you were listing billionaires and trying to come up with the name of the Virgin guy, I was like, are you talking about like Elon Musk's assistants at Doggy or something like that? But okay, Richard Branson, who is notably not a virgin. But anyway,
right.
Yeah, no, it's disgusting what they've done, and they've tried to destroy NASA as much as possible while putting all of this money in these private corporations, which is that's just what Republicans do. That's not even a new thing. That's not even a MAGA thing. That's what they always do. And why should the government be generating this data when instead we could, even if we wanted it, we could pay 10 times as much for a private corporation to do it. This is what you get when you put a Republican in the White House. When there's a public health crisis, stop the testing. When there's a climate crisis, don't track how much carbon emissions we're having. It is an explicitly stupid and ignorant ideology. And as I've always said, they like to claim that they're masculine or whatever. I've often said there is nothing alpha, there's nothing masculine about being dumb as hell, okay? And so it's unfortunate that we're not gonna have that information. You could have paid for these missions for like 2 of Trump's terms for the price of his birthday parade that he had. But instead, we got the saddest little parade a dictator's ever thrown. If you enjoyed that, make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming an actual member. But you're probably wondering, why the hell would I do that, John? First off, calm down. The stakes in this are very, very low. But also, when you click the join button and you become a member, you get access to bonus content that I make every week, and it's a ton of fun. You get access to tons of custom emojis and more besides that. By the way, if you join at tier 3, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself and other awesome people, and we always have a great time. By the way, you'll get all that going forward, but you also unlock years of the back catalog. That is literally 100 or more bonus clips, top 10 lists, debates, and more. What are you waiting for? Click the join button below. Your support powers our show, and we couldn't do it without you. Or at the very least, I wouldn't really want to try. Viewers like you keep me here. So thank you in advance for joining.